people said there's no black League of Legends fans, there's no black, CSGO fans, and like that's why you don't see a lot of diversity on broadcasts, is because black people just aren't into it.
I hate that argument so much.
Well, it's
right?
just the whole idea that if like you don't see it, then it doesn't exist, right? Which is so silly because it's the same conversation. It's like, well, if I don't see that jungler on my map, like they don't exist. They're probably top. You know what I mean?
Wait, you have your own special trash can?
Our own special trash can where I press a button and it says hot trash and it shows flames inside of the trash can. Like it's legitimate.
It would be so easy to just put someone on camera and be like, okay, well, you're gonna be our X representative, whatever ethnic group or sense of identity, but you have to play by our rules, right?
Hello and welcome to the Black Esports Forum, because 28 days is not enough for blackness. I have a really great slew of guests today. We're gonna all from different parts of the esports broadcasting world. Starting us off, Sharpie, tell us about yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm the Purple Sharpie, but you can call me Sharpie if you're feeling spicy. I am a esports commentator. I make comedy videos on YouTube, and I've been streaming on Twitch for 11 years now. I also help run fighting game events inside of a local venue, and I've been doing tournament organizing for 15 years now. What's up?
15 years, goodness.
Hey, Primal, why don't you follow it up and tell us about yourself?
Sure. So I've been in esports for, I guess, around 10 years. And currently I'm an LCS commentator. Prior to that, I played Teamfight Tactics professionally. I guess for those who don't know, LCS, it's the League of Legends Championship Series. So it's the North American Pro League, it's based in West LA. And before that, I worked at Riot Games for 7 years. So I've been around.
Damn, a bunch of people who've been around for a while. Hey, old timer Velly, why don't you tell people about yourself?
The only old time thing about me is that I was a pro like 13 years ago. That doesn't even matter anymore, right? But right now, I am basically the jack of all trades when it comes to the FPS world. I'm a desk host, I'm an analyst, I'm also a commentator for various FPS games, such as Call of Duty, Rainbow Six, and Valorant at the moment.
Man, I know nothing about shooters, so you could say some wild stuff today, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, totally, Velly.
I keep it on the noob level, though. I say it to where everyone understands it, so I got you, Amanda. I got you.
You got me?
I
All right,
you.
Cool. So, chat, when y'all watch this episode and you hear something wild and he lied to me, you need to let me know.
Call me
Because I have
out.
a feeling he's gonna do some stuff to me. So let's start off with a pretty nice and easy way to warm up to each other. I figured let's talk about, last time we talked about how we got hooked on esports, but since we're all have done some version of broadcast work, I figured, what about the coolest esports moment you've been involved in on the broadcast? So I'm going to start with Primal, mix up the order a bit.
Oh boy.
Okay. Do you want with me on the broadcast or me working on the broadcast?
What do you want to do?
Ooh, that's tough, man. Okay. So I'll give you one with me on broadcast. It's relatively recent. So obviously we've been in quarantine for like over a year now. And 2 weeks ago was the first time I actually got to do any commentary in person. Now it was at the LA Greek Theater. So that was super cool because I just watched John Legend there perform 3 years ago. So I was on the same stage. It was kind of trippy to be there. And there wasn't any audience, so it's not the same thing as a live esports event. But still, we had the production and all that. And it was just good to be in that kind of environment as opposed to being stuck in a box on the screen. So that was my favorite on broadcast moment.
All right. Yeah, I've never been to that theater, but I will say watching the broadcast, that looks like a dope venue. Yeah, and I can't wait for y'all to get to use it with people, because that place looks sick.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Velly, what's your coolest broadcast moment? Was it from when you were a grandpa professional, or is it something a little bit more recent?
It was something recent before COVID locked the world down, right? For people that don't know my story, I struggled a lot to try to make it in esports, especially as a desk host. I was actually given the opportunity to desk host the Six Invitational, which is the Worlds of Rainbow Six, right? And when I desk hosted it, there was a certain atmosphere and energy around Rainbow Six that I thought should have been changed. So as a desk host, I changed the entire pace of the entire arena. I changed the entire tone of the event, and it was mind-blowing. It was the best Six Invitational in my eyes, and to a lot of other people, including higher-ups in Ubisoft, that Rainbow Six has ever had. So being able to command that and control it after all the years of just being told I wasn't good enough, that moment was fucking amazing. And it's forever going to be my favorite esports moment.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it always feels good to get to like do that cool thing finally that you've been like trying to work towards.
It's the greatest.
Oh, Sharpie, what about you?
I reverse 5-1 someone on stream in Skullgirls.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they won the first round, and then I downloaded them and proceeded to win 5 games in a row on stream, and afterwards I won like $300 in a money match. Yeah.
Wait, is that
the best thing to have ever happened to me? And then he didn't shake my hand afterwards. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's what that's from?
Yeah.
I like that.
I didn't know this. So
at the start of the broadcast, at the start of that and everything, we were talking a lot. Like, there's a lot of mess being talked on Twitter. And we were just literally like, he was like, well, you ain't good at anything. Like, you just get over because you do all this stuff in the community. That's why no one will bad talk you. I was like, excuse you, I'm a good player. And he's like, no, you ain't. You just over here like dating people that are good and talking to good players. I was like, oh no. Johnny, right? And so before the match, he comes out to shake my hand and I don't shake his hand because wasn't no respect. You feel me?
I feel it.
Then afterwards, he wins the first game and my brain goes, okay, Sharpie, this is real. You know, like regardless of what happens, you have to fight. You know, you can make a really good show. Because I went into this thinking I was gonna lose my money and my respect and everything. I was mad. I was messed up, right? And so as soon as I lose that first game, I'm like, you know what? Get it together. And then I proceed to win 5 games in a row. The very last game's a pixel finish, and I grab him and win, and I put out my hand, and he doesn't shake it.
That's beautiful right there. I love that.
Yo,
that's the best
like
moment ever.
Fingers to trigger fingers.
Yes,
like,
yes. Only in the FGC though.
And they captured it on stream. And that's why I was like the best moment ever in broadcasting. I'm so glad you asked me. That right there. Yeah.
See, I didn't know the lore of that because like I've seen your like broadcast reel and it's in your reel on your YouTube channel.
Yeah,
and
people
like
love it.
It looks dope out of context. Like Sharpie wins, she puts the hand out, he doesn't shake it. Everybody like comes from the crowd and is like surrounding her, and I'm like, man, that shit looks lit.
And then I put out my hand again, and he still didn't shake it. After everyone left the stage, I put out my hand thinking maybe he saw people coming. He still didn't shake it, and I just walk off, and then he had to commentate that match after it. So his salt was on point the entire next 3 hours. It's literally the best thing to have ever happened in my entire life. Swear to God. Swear to God.
Hold down on the L by not shaking your hand. Like after the match, you have to shake the hand, right? Like,
it felt so good, honey. It felt so good. Yes.
I think for me, it was getting to work. Yeah, I think I'll do this one. I think it was getting to work in MSG for Worlds in 2016. I'm a New Yorker. You gotta have respect for Madison Square Garden. Like, I think most New Yorkers, like, that's like, if you can get like box seats or like anything of that nature at MSG, you're like living, right? I remember going to see Knicks games. I remember going to see plays there. So when I found out that Worlds was gonna be in MSG, I was like, wait, what? Like, I have a press pass? I get to be in the press room for, wait, what? Are you kidding me?
That's insane.
And then, so up until recently, because I've been saying a little wild stuff on Twitter, MSG followed me on Twitter because they came into the press room, like their social media team, and they're like, who amongst you can like explain what's going on in like 45 seconds for our Snapchat? And I was like, me, please, the actual New Yorker. I wanna, please let me do it. And they were like, all right, let's see you do it. So I like, went, it was like right after the whole like Rocks Tigers locked in Misfortune ass bot lane, and they're like, why is that so special? And I was like, all right, boom, let me put on my New Yorker speed voice. Let's do this quickly.
What?
Yo, that shit was fired to like be part of like an MSG like piece of content.
You know what they always say? They always say, like, for whatever you want in life, you need to be ready for those moments like that because they come at the most random times. And when that moment comes, you better knock that motherfucker out the park because you never know what comes after that.
Oh, when I did it the first time after game 1, they immediately, like, was like, yo, Amanda, we need you. We gotta do more. We gotta do more. I almost said TikTok. TikTok wasn't a thing in 2016. We need more Snapchat stuff. And I was like, wait, bet? Like y'all still, yeah, okay. And like I remember like texting my dad. I was like, Dad, you have to install Snapchat. And he was like, why? I was like, I'm on the MSG Snapchat. And he was like, wait, what? What? Because like my dad bleeds orange and blue. Like there's Nick paraphernalia all over the house. My dad owns like 3 Knicks hats. He's got multiple jerseys. Like that's his stuff. So when he saw that was like the moment it like clicked for him, like why esports was cool. Like the second it like got connected to like
it connects both
really
of your
passionate.
worlds, which is amazing.
Yeah, so even though like I've been a part of like cooler moments, like, you know, interviewing Problem X after he won Evo, or like Bon Chan, like those moments are super cool. But like not only did I get to like live the New Yorker dream of like doing something for Madison Square Garden, like I think doing something at like Yankee Stadium is probably like the next highest thing there. But then also like it really helped connect me and my dad, because he did not understand esports. Like he did not understand League of Legends. But I think that's that moment for me.
I like it.
Very cool. That was a legendary match too. The Rocks Tigers match.
Yeah, that was a good series.
Yeah.
There was some not so good series, like I think it was EGG versus H2K. That was kind of.
Hey, we don't talk about those. Let's focus on positives.
Let's focus on positives. I'm about it. So, you know, the reason I got all of you together is I know that some of you probably know of this Froskurin person who is on the internet's a LEC commentator who is now part of G4. And Froskurin made a tweet after the LEC announced their 2021 broadcast lineup, where she was like, look, I respect all of my LEC homies. I love everybody on the broadcast, but this is a pretty white looking broadcast. There doesn't seem to be a lot of diversity here. And, you know, some people had some thoughts about it, but one of the really interesting things that I saw was a lot of people saying, well, maybe there are no black commentators. Maybe there are no black esports fans. Or maybe black people just like aren't into slot in tier 1 esport, right? People said there's no black League of Legends fans, there's no black you know, CSGO fans, and like that's why you don't see a lot of diversity on broadcasts, is because black people just aren't into it.
I hate that argument so much.
Well, it's
right?
just the
And
whole idea that if like
here.
you don't see it, then it doesn't exist, right? Which is so silly, because it's the same conversation. It's like, well, you know, if I don't see that jungler on my map, like they don't exist. They're probably top. You know what I mean? They're definitely not here. I know Dragon's up, and I know their buff just refresh, but they're definitely not here. It's really silly because it's that same type of argument. It's the same people making it. Real talk. Like they're stuck where they are, and they can't see nothing else because they refuse to look at the grand picture of things. So that's them. Honestly, the reason why it becomes problematic is because when other people point that out and they're like, hey, you know, maybe if you had a ward over there, you would see it. Or if you were like watching rotations, you would understand that that was happening. They're just kind of like, no. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's because no one's ever ganking for me. Like, that's why, you know, like the people like that, they literally just make excuses. And I don't understand why they think that something as universally enjoyed by especially our generation as video games would exclusively be a Caucasian or even like an East Asian thing. It's really kind of ridiculous to me, but
I've seen, especially in the FPS world, but yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of wild to see it in the FPS world, because like console games, like when you look at,
we're not talking about console. It's the console games. See, that's the thing. Like the console games, those are different, because you take a look at Call of Duty, and even though like, all right, toxicity is in every game, right? Like we're talking about the esports side, you see diversity. You see diversity that's implemented from the beginning, and that makes a big difference. You don't get a lot of that in the esports world. But when you go to PC, like for instance, I went to Rainbow Six, and Amanda, I just sent you a DM. Go ahead and take a look at that on Twitter while I explain this to you. I was the first physically brown person that ever did Rainbow Six 5 years later, right? And I came at it in a way that was entirely different. But the thing is, when they say we're not out there, we are out there. The thing is, the people that are supposed to be hiring us, they don't want to take a chance on us because we're so different. Like when I'm naturally from Gears of War and Call of Duty, so I'm hyped. I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of passion with what I do. So when I came to Rainbow Six, I brought shoutcasting. I brought real shoutcasting, and they didn't like it. I was literally told, and imagine joining a scene that's really all white. There's like one black pro and, you know, whatever. And they're like, oh, you just make everything to sound like the NBA. You know, all that yelling don't do nothing. You're too hype, you're too loud. But then it's like, okay, that's because you've never seen another esport before. You ain't really seen a black commentator, so let me show you how it's done. And so now it's like, all right, I'm a fan favorite. So everything they said about me before was just absolutely false. And we enriched those live events. When I spoke about the Six Invitational, like, I don't like to brag and shit like that. But to be completely honest, people were yelling in the audience. You had cheers. You had fans going crazy. And that's the type of passion and energy that me and my people bring to the table. And by avoiding that and saying we're not out there, it's just plain out ignorant, because I see a lot of amateur black commentators that are begging for a shot, even if it's for free.
Yeah, I think that's like really interesting. And so I know, like, for you, Primal, like one of your like first starts with like the more esports was like doing TFT, which is a newer scene, right? Like it came, like TFT started what, like 2 years ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Well, just to clarify, I mean, so my journey through esports is a little bit different. It started off with StarCraft and just being like a community organizer and just organizing tournaments for fun. Started a company that organized tournaments called Well Played. So we were just an online tournament organizer, and we did stuff with like MLG, IGN, etc. And then I actually joined Riot in 2013, originally as an intern.
My bad.
Yeah, no worries. And then I spent 7 years doing global policy, and then I started producing events. So I produced like world championships and MSIs and stuff. So it's a little bit different, right? For me, I've been behind camera and in front of camera, so I can sort of see. And I think, I mean, if we want to take like the strongest version of the argument that I think you represented, which is, hey, maybe there's just not that many black people in X esport, there could be something to the idea that, hey, maybe in League of Legends, especially compared to other communities, there's not that many, you know, black people who even play the game on a percentage basis, and then maybe as a result, there's not that many professionals to choose from. I think that might be the case. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the data says. So I think the more interesting question is, okay, do we think that's a problem, right? Like, is it that people aren't into this game because they don't feel like it's a welcoming community? You know, is it that, you know, of the people who are playing the game, they don't feel like they can make a jump to professional because they don't feel like the professional community is welcoming? Or is it because of some other reason that I'm not aware of? I can say for me, being, you know, even I would say behind camera, I was one of a handful of black people working on things. I never really felt like there was a barrier to me getting involved. But I did recognize that, yeah, like, you know, I'm just a bit different because of my race, right? Like, because I'm black, like, I have different experiences, etc. Yeah. So I think there's something to be said for, hey, if you're like the only black person in the room, it could feel uncomfortable. Now, for me, frankly, my whole life, given my interests, I've usually been the only black person in the room. So it's never been a huge point of issue for me, because like I'm fine in those environments. But I can see something to be said for the idea that, hey, the lack of black visible figures in certain venues, like whether it's on esports broadcasts, etc., makes it feel like for other people who might be aspiring professionals in the field, hey, there's no one there who looks like me, right? So I don't feel, you know, I don't feel like I would be welcome in that community. Now, that said, I've actually never felt unwelcome for being black in the esports scene, both at Riot or in front of camera. But I think there are absolutely issues with race more generally, right? So. No,
I mean, I definitely agree. I think like there's a difference between like your own personal experiences, right? Like I can't say that like anytime I've not gotten a press pass or not gotten a gig, right, doing broadcast, like, oh yeah, 100%, that's because I'm black, right? But when you see like broadcast after broadcast have like the same makeup, right? You do start to question, right? Because like for example, I know a ton of amateur level League of Legends casters, right? Who apply shot for shot after shot after shot, whether it's, you know, back when the OCE was a thing still, you know, for the various LPL English gigs, for, you know, even a chance at Academy, and like you would see them not get it. And like maybe the conversation is like, y'all need to level up, right? Like y'all just aren't there yet. Y'all aren't at that professional level.
Can I add something there, actually?
I see.
Cause like, it's no offense to you, Primal, at all. I understand that you've worked with LCS, and Amanda, I understand that you also know a lot about Riot. I've done amateur casting with League, and the general consensus was the same thing. It's that I was too loud, I was too passionate, I was too excited, and then I'd watch literally another person that had, you know, lighter skin than me do the exact same commentary for me frame by frame and be like, oh yeah, that's awesome, we love that, we're such a big fan of that. And I'm like, literally, we're commentating on the exact same thing, and all they did was just repeat the exact same thing I said. So it's like, I'm not seeing the disconnect here. Is it my knowledge? Is it the way I'm delivering it? Like, what's the difference here? And it feels like that happens a lot, specifically in games where the general online makeup of the community may not look like me, where I'm not necessarily the target demographic. I'm just an additional percentage that they're very happy to profit off of. That's what it feels like. And so it's not necessarily that I can't appreciate or understand the game, but it is very, very upsetting for me myself, someone who consumes the game, someone who creates content about the game, someone who plays the game with my friends, but may not have the resources to be taken seriously on a certain level, or the privilege to be taken seriously on a certain level. Like, seeing that representation would be nice, because that would mean, hey, you know what, they are giving certain people chances, and that's awesome. But if I never see anyone that looks like me, if I only see, once again, like West Asian or general like Caucasian people on a broadcast for a game, I'm like, very much so, I'm not a part of the target demographic. And I think that's what really comes across in some of these conversations, is that people are very happy when people of African American or African descent are a part of a demographic makeup of a game, but they're still not the target demographic of that game. You see what I'm saying?
And you know what's crazy about that, Sheila, is it's a simple fact. I would never say that me being black has like been bad for broadcast. It's always enriching, it's enriching in broadcast. And it's like, I feel like once that happens, I'm just the token, and that's just in that spot too. And it's stuck as that, nothing else. And then they that's their quota. You don't see other black people come in, like, that's just it. That's the quota. You're good. Just stay in your spot, be quiet, and just do your job. Because you fill out the black part of what we've been missing in our game for so long. We're not gonna do anything special about that, but just keep you on payroll, and that's just it. That's what happens. So I agree with what Sheila said, because I've experienced that. It sucks. I mean, Sharpie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. It's one of those things where it's like, as someone inside of the fighting game community that is predominantly people of color and is overwhelmingly black, it's kind of interesting to see how much attention the fighting game community specifically will get in February compared to all other times of the year, even just in gaming. Yeah. Almost the only time that you're hearing about the fighting game community is if A, someone said something racist, B, if someone says something super ridiculous and like they're like, we have to paint this as a gamer moment, they're thugs, they're terrible, or 3, if it's February and y'all needed to be reminded that Sonic Fox is black. Like, that's what it is. And so it's kind of frustrating coming from like that environment of gaming, going into other games and being like, no, I'm still very interested in all of gaming, and being like not easily reflected or not easily accessible for some reason or another. And it's kind of like, I feel like one of those taboo topics, one of those things that you have to approach very specifically in how you dissect it and how you have a conversation about it, because it's very, very easy for the conversation to divulge in, well, you just want this because you're black and like you just want to make more opportunities for yourself, when the reality is, no, I actively see that I'm being treated differently, and it's really hard to explain to someone who may not necessarily have had those exact same experiences and may have just seen it secondhand, because it's very much so like micro aggressive or micro. It's more of like, because
Or
gaming is such a
troublemakers.
subsection of it's such a subsection of society. It's like leftover racism from just existing on this earth. And so people in gaming don't feel like they have to address it, because it's like, well, society's still moving, so it's not really our place. But it's the perfect place, because it's literally an environment where everybody's in it because they literally love this thing. So it's like, maybe just giving equal opportunity to everyone who loves that thing instead of just certain people who target demographic you're trying to reach would be better for you overall, because it would only enhance your community. Things like that, I think, are an important conversation to have at higher levels inside of large amounts of esports that I don't necessarily feel is happening, because they're given way to other conversations like, yo, why don't we just get more women in esports? Yo, why don't we just work on like becoming more international? Instead of focusing on the blatant problem is that only certain people, we try to focus on getting them because we'll get everybody else by default. And like, I feel like that's such a issue,
No, I mean, and I definitely don't disagree with you. I mean, like, if I thought that like this wasn't a conversation, like this wouldn't be a show, right? We would have done the first episode and like been like, all right, that's a wrap. We covered all topics involving blackness in esports. But I think what's interesting is a point that you and Velly sort of touched on, which is this idea that like when you try to talk about it, there's sort of this uncomfortableness that sort of like comes into the room, where like if you're trying to say like, hey, I'm like, because like a lot of times when you talk about like diversity in esports, whether it's more women, queer representation, trans representation, an ethnic group, it's always, well, like, do you want to just put people in because of X, right? Do you want to just like have a commentator on the LCS because they're a woman? Do you want to have an analyst in Rainbow Six because they're queer, right? Like, are we just filling diversity slots? And it's like, that's not the conversation. It's not about like, we need to create, we're not saying like, oh, there needs to be every esport, there needs to be a diversity slot, and we need to make sure we have woman, black, Latino, queer, trans, like we need these checked off, and then we're all happy about the broadcast. I don't think like anybody here is trying to make that argument that we're just trying to fill quotas. But what we are saying is that like, it is kind of funny that like mad people play video games, but only like one subset of people seems to be the ones commentating, and only one subset of people seems to be analysts and desk hosts. And it's not like, I understand why it's a difficult conversation, why it makes people uncomfortable, because people think that you're trying to use the R word, right? That you're trying to say that maybe they're being racist. And it's like, maybe you just don't think about it. Like from the DEI perspective, when I talk about like, hey, how did this company end up being predominantly white, right? It's like, well, what did you use for your hiring process? And they're like, oh, well, I used this board, and, I went to this career fair at these colleges. And it's like, oh, well, like, look at what your applicant pool is. That might have something to do with it. Whereas, like, I've been pushing for a lot of these companies to do, like, HBCU career fairs, right? Because, man, it'd be really surprising if you just found a lot of really qualified black applicants if you, like, went to an HBCU for your hiring pool. And I think that that's the thing that people aren't getting, is that we're not saying that like the people on the broadcast aren't qualified. We aren't saying that, Velly, Sharpie, Primal, whoever, right, is more qualified than somebody else who's already on the broadcast. That's not even the conversation that we're really trying to have. We're just trying to say that like, maybe if we broaden the scope of who's on a broadcast, we're going to touch on that point that Sharpie was making of like, it's gonna let people see themselves and be like, yes, Sharpie's doing the LPL, man, you know what, I've always kind of wanted to get into Chinese League of Legends, and now I see her on it, man, I'm gonna watch the broadcast more. I'm gonna be real, I had no interest in the VALORANT broadcast until I saw Velly.
It makes a difference.
I'm gonna be real.
Do you see the chat?
Like,
do you see the chat?
Nah,
the fucking influence is insane.
Twitch chat is evil.
The influence is insane though. Like me being on the desk was just like, I had just the interactions on Twitter from the chat, just people coming into just our culture, hip hop culture, like the conversations, the way they spoke about the game, was just so much more just fun and entertaining and better. And even on Twitter, like seeing kids like interested in just the outfits, you know, wavy hair, you know, just having that barbershop talk with us to talk about video games like that and coming together to talk about it and just being cool. It was dope. Kids thought I was cool and they loved it. But you know what? That actually scares companies as well, and they're afraid of success that can come their way because it's so different looking than what they're used to. Just because I don't stand still and say, hello, welcome to Rainbow Six NA League, and I was like, hey everybody, welcome back to the NA League. They're scared of that. They're like, we never had somebody talk like that before,
but
and
also,
it works.
Yeah, I mean, and I also want to be clear that I'm not saying I agree with you to an extent. I don't want it to come across like we're saying like, oh, there's.
But you were able to relate from
we were
culture,
having a conversation.
color,
What happened to us having a conversation?
everything.
I thought this was all part of a conversation and sharing.
Everything about me being black just related to you, and the way that I described the game, the way I dressed, the way I spoke. You felt it, so you wanted to know more, and a lot of other people did as well. I just wish that a lot of other companies open their eyes to things like that.
It feels weird because, and this is something that I notice a lot, not just like in gaming, but in like general like topics across America. Really, is no one wants to be seen as that black thing. You know what I mean? Like it feels very frequently that, like you said before, there's like kind of a diversity hire. It feels very, very obvious to me, especially in entertainment, that there's a certain label that people want associated with their shows, and black isn't always the very first one that they want, unless they're 100% black and only playing to that dynamic. And it becomes very, very obvious in things like gaming, because they're very much so like, no, we're just here for fun, you know, we're just here for leisure, we're just here for competition. And the very first thing they want to associate with them isn't always the moniker of black. And I feel like that's because inherently that moniker of black or African American has like very negative connotations specifically in America. And I think that's something that like the game industry kind of needs to work on breaking, because there are a lot of very successful, very passionate, very well-deserving people inside of gaming that are trying to do these things, and I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to say that, you know, oh man, I should have been given these opportunities, so on and so forth. I'm not like salty or bitter about any of that. I'm just seeing it as a problem that exists right now, unfortunately, inside of our community. And I feel like if we were to strengthen those bonds, if we were to do it, we could find literally the very next freaking like Pokemon or something right here, literally inside of like Legends of Runeterra, or inside of League, or inside of like, I don't know, Twisted Treeline only competitive LCS type shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying.
Real talk, I would play that. That's my moment. You know, that's where I become a pro League of Legends player. It's Summoner's Rift that's been holding me back.
But
there's something really beautiful. Mm-hmm.
I think that ultimately, like, a lot of people that aren't black, they're gonna watch this and they're gonna think that you're talking about, oh, you know, they don't care about black people, this and that. But I think it goes even deeper than that, because when the game is started, especially when the esports scene pops off, it's like, who do they bring in to start off the scene, and how do they go from there? And in the case of Rainbow Six, that's just what it was. And I just feel like they need to be more open. And there also has to be a better way to look for talent of different backgrounds as well, to where when you start off a scene, you don't just hire 10 white dudes and then you're stuck 3 years later like, how the fuck do we fix this now? Like,
yeah. I actually have a really, because I want to peel back the veil, because I think a lot of people don't know how like the hiring process for commentators go. A lot of people think that it's like any other job where there's like an open application and everybody fills it out. So real quick,
so it's not racism. I just want to put it out there. It's just ignorance.
It's not racism. Yeah. It's a lot of systems that essentially allow biases like racism to infiltrate the system, which isn't inherently racist or biased at all. It's just a subsection of our society.
So real quick, I want to do a trip down memory lane. I want to like, for as much or as little information as you want to give.
Story time. Let's go.
Let's story time. So Primal, how did you go from doing like competing at TFT to like ending up on the LCS broadcast?
Sure. So yeah, I was a TFT streamer and competitor for most of 2020, and then I started commentating for TFT. So I actually commentated the TFT World Championship. And Riot they knew me from having worked at Riot before and had been following my journey as a streamer, and they liked what I brought to the broadcast for TFT Worlds, so they invited me to be an analyst desk commentator for LCS.
If it's like, I don't know how protective Riot is about its process, like what is that screening process like? Is it just sort of like, hey, like we think you're good at commentary, you want to do this, or is there like tests? Like how does it go about?
I honestly don't know what the general process is. I think for me, they wanted to see a track record of me actually doing this kind of thing. And I guess, honestly, I hadn't even been looking for the opportunity. It was something where they approached me, they're like, hey, we think you've been really good on these events. And obviously I've worked on League of Legends for a long time, so I understood the scene, I understood the game, actually played at a really high level, not quite pro, but like almost challenger level for a while. So I think they looked at it holistically and were like, hey, we think this guy, based on his experience on broadcast, experience with the scene, and just in general, they like that I was articulate and charismatic on camera, would be a good fit. But I mean, there are people who, I think everyone's different, right? Because this is still an evolving space, right? And particularly when we're talking about what makes someone good on a broadcast, right? A lot of it is like X factor, right? We're looking for like, hey, is this person fluid? Like, do they get along well with other hosts, right? Are they high times? Those kinds of things. So it's less about, hey, we're going to bring you for a battery of, off-camera tests. And I think a lot of it is like, you look at what kind of product they put out in public.
Yeah. Sharpie, I know that the FGC kind of does things a little differently than some other esports. So can you like peel back the veil for like how you've gone on, like, I know you've done like EVO, I know you've done like
I did EVO and then it was canceled, so I didn't get to do EVO. But yeah, I was slated to be the first African-American woman to ever commentate EVO Japan. And also the first woman to ever commentate EVO Japan finals. So I was really excited, and then it was canceled. But
I'm sorry, congrats for that though. That's amazing.
You still got it though. So like,
I technically still got it a name. Yeah, I was really excited for when the graphic would come out because it was like very, very black. It was me actually doing a Beyonce cover picture. I got a professional photographer and everything. I was really excited.
That's really exciting.
I was excited, before the carpet was pulled, like it was that exciting. It was like one day I had it, the next day I did not. And so, yeah, but that's how businesses go, especially in this industry. It's very, very like literally you better be there for the for the pan flash. For me, I had actually originally started commentating with, Melee. I used to go to offline tournaments back when I was like in college, and I hosted a lot. And then I moved into League of Legends, and I started trying to commentate there. But like I said, it didn't go super well. So I was like, okay. And then I just kept doing it for the different games I played. And eventually by the time I got to Skullgirls, that was when I had a community and a following. And that was when people started actually doing it. So it's kind of weird for me because like, the type of commentary I've done has been literally the same for every single game. I'm the same type of person regardless of what type of game I commentate. I just talk about the game, talk about the people that are playing the game, and I make it sound entertaining for people watching. But the way that it was received in different communities, I think really helped me, and the way that my social media following grew, I think only helped me. To be very honest with you, that's literally what it was like when they were like, yo, Skullgirls is happening, people were like, yeah, definitely Sharpie, because we know she plays that game and she commentates, so yeah. That's literally what it was. They're like, she has a big following, she commentates, GG. That was it.
So to an extent, it has been kind of like a word of mouth thing. It's not so much like you always go to a lot of these events like, yo, I'm Sharpie.
I also go to the events and I made a reel and everything like that. I did all the stuff on paper, but it's like the reality is in other communities, like they had the same things on paper as me. The only thing that set me apart from other people on paper was my social media following. Like that was it. So it was like, because I had a larger social media following and everything, like that was literally the only deciding factor about why I rose to the top, was because I was doing all of my social stuff too. I had the same amount of skill as a lot of other people that I know that commentate. I have the same amount of experience as a lot of people that I know that commentate as well. The only difference is that I just happen to have a bigger social media following because I'm funnier than them. So.
I like you said I'm funny-er.
Thank you. I was workshopping that before the stream.
Oh, were you? Oh,
no.
I love it.
I wasn't. No, who does that? What? Yeah, That's why I got the job, bro, because I'm funnier.
The sick burn. I love getting roasted by my guests. It's the best feeling in the world.
I was invited to be on this show, bro. Can you believe it? The mistakes. They were probably like, Sharpie's just gonna be cute as hell with her makeup. Nah, like what did you think you were getting?
You know what? And I know you, so like, I don't know why I thought this would be a roast-free show, but like,
I don't know what people were expecting. Were people expecting me to come here and literally not roast? What did they think I was gonna do? Play Skullgirls, which is currently $39.99. Go to playskullgirls.sharpiepls.com. Is that what they thought I was finna do?
I knew it was coming.
That?
I knew it was coming. Sooner or later.
I warned everybody. I was like, yo, there's gonna be a Skullgirls drop. Like, you just gotta accept it. Maybe we'll put a graphic on the screen. There's probably a graphic came up with like Skullgirls, like the website. So like, I hope you know that like I've prepared the post-production for the Skullgirls drop.
That's all. I'm not gonna do it anymore. I'm gonna take it very seriously. It felt organic, you know.
that was a good moment. So Velly, what about you? You know, big social media following.
No.
You know, people just banging on the door.
No, I worked hard for everything I have. I was a pro gamer back in 2007 to 2009, early 2009, I believe. I retired, went back to real life, but I missed gaming. So I came back and I tried to be a commentator for Gears of War. That was when I got that I was too energetic, too hype, and all that stuff. So I started my own podcast. I had a talk show on the flank, and they needed a desk host, and they needed someone that could talk to the community and relate to them. That was me. So I got the gig. Eventually, they got rid of me, so I kept working hard. I entered a contest for Rainbow Six, not knowing anything about the game, and won the analyst contest, and here I am.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so, you know, I actually have a question for y'all, because I know Velly does a lot of FPS, but I know he plays some League of Legends on the side.
Yes.
I know Sharpie plays video games. Like, Sharpie, you're just like a gamer. She's a gamer. From talking to you. You play a bunch of stuff.
Like, that's why I get so surprised when I talk to other people about video games, because they think I only play Skullgirls. Like, I heavy play video games. Like, I just finished, I took the week off of work, and I just finished like literally a 14-hour PSO2 game before I came on tonight. So session just grinding.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Is that not what people do? Y'all don't play games? I play games.
I mean, I have a Final Fantasy 14 addiction right now. So like,
yeah,
I don't
it's a good game.
It's a great game. So, you know, I'm actually gonna start with Primal. Primal, if there was a game that you like would love to like commentate, what's like you get the instant download, so you know everything about the game you need to know. Like, what's the game right now that you like would kill to commentate?
Commentate? I mean, is it a cop-out answer to just say League? Like, you know, the game's been a part of my life. Yeah, it's been a huge part of my life for 10 years. Like, thousands and thousands of hours in the game. I've spent so much time just like following the players and the stories. So yeah, I love getting to break down League of Legends. And for me, it's less about the game. It's more about the sport and the stories, you know, that's what it is for me. I'm not into TFT right now, but when I was super into TFT at a strategic level, it was really fun to talk about the game because it's just so cerebral, right? And there's so much that is also really transparent to players in TFT. But right now it's League of Legends just because I love the sport.
Would you stick to the LCS, or is there like would you region swap?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm an LCS homer. Like, I know LCS, I know LCS is not the best. I don't give a f- right? Like, being a fan is not about being a fan of the best team. It's about...
Oh, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I understand that statement very well. Like, I get when NA was like losing their shit in 2019 about like being bad at Worlds, I was like, this is how I know none of y'all follow sports, or you're all from a place where like your sport team is good. Because I'm from New York, we have not been very good at sports for a minute. I still show up to watch Bill games. I still show up to watch Knicks games. You know, it's painful. It hurts. Everybody makes fun of you because you're a Bills and a Jets fan. They roast you regularly for being a Jets fan. So like, League people, say you're worse to me for being an NA fan. It's not going to be worse than anything I've ever heard for being a Jets fan.
Also, NA has literally never been good.
It's all that much sweeter when you do get them, you know?
Yeah.
So, NA's
I'm
never
American,
been good.
I love my region. So you said NA's never been good?
That's true. That's exactly what I said, and I stand by that statement. C9 was the closest we ever got to having an LEC ready like team. Like it's not. It ain't.
Wait, hold on. I mean, NA made it to the finals of MSI in 2015. That was pretty good.
Oh,
yeah, good for them. Good for them. What was that? What was that? Like 6 years ago now? Oh, okay.
No, 2019 was 2 years
I thought you
ago,
said 2015. Might be.
No. Yeah, Team Liquid made it to the finals of MSI. Also, like when we say good, the problem is the term good is so amorphous that people just move the ball.
Right.
When I say good, I'm not talking about like how they win or like what their strategies for winning. I think that other regions break the game differently down than a lot of NA players do. And I think they've been doing that for a very long time because I think NA players put the emphasis on result instead of specifically mechanics. But that's another conversation.
I was gonna say, as the non-league
listen.
person here, I enjoy this.
Yeah, just to note, guys, there are 13, maybe 12 regions now with OC and NA getting merged. NA is top 4, right? Like, I think
top 4 is good to me. I'm not good at math.
Top 4 is like good. The problem is people expect NA to be better, right? So expectations and reality, there's a mismatch there. But NA is objectively like a good region globally, but they're not as good as Korea, China, or Europe. That's okay.
That's true.
Oh,
I just, come from FGC where if you're not first, you're last. I believe Daigo said that.
I think that's a toxic mindset for life.
That's Yo, so before we get more into how bad NA is as a region, we just like get downvoted into oblivion.
Yeah.
Yo, Velly, what's that other scene you want to commentate?
The other scene I want to commentate, really bad actually. There's two. One of the games, I mean, I would have loved to commentate a fighting game. I would love to do Smash Brothers Melee. I would love to do Street Fighter. The only thing is, I never really put time into fighting games, but I love watching them. They're so fucking fun to spectate. Like, when people watch esports, they want to watch look at the strategy. I sit back like, damn, he just whooped his ass. This is my type of game. And that's why, like, I love fighting games, right? Because you can sit back with a beer and do that. But right now, and this is a cop-out answer as well, but it's new to me because I've only worked 2 events for them. I want to do Valorant. And I want to do Valorant because they seem to do it right so far. I love the way that they show off the game. Just, the music is just so good. It's for everybody. It's for us, The way the game is flashy and the way that I'm able to just do whatever I want on the desk to just be me. Like, that's what I'm shooting for. A lot of people are in esports to work on their favorite game. I work in esports to work on my favorite games and to do what I do at the highest level as possible. At as high at a level as I can possibly do, I guess I'm trying to say. And I've been able to do that with Valorant, so I really love it. The game is just exhilarating to me.
You slayed me when you showed up on the broadcast as Vishon.
Yo.
I did not.
And you know what it is? They encourage that behavior.
Everybody called you on Twitter the night before. Everyone was like, yo, let's do these Velly Vishon memes.
But you know what's crazy? Like, I've been literally like been scolded and like fired for my antics like that. And like, this is a scene where they embrace it and they're like, do it here. Like, we want all of that because it brings success. Like, I got fired for...
that was the funniest shit. I know so many, like, I'll tell you, like, when I say that, like, you won me over to Valorant, like, one of my oldest homies, Esports Doug, like, we used to do LPL stuff together, right? I was like, oh man, happy for him. Like, he's doing Valorant. Cause like, he's been trying to be on the come up for commentary for so long. So like, him finding his game has been like really lit to see for me. But I was like, you know what? I don't get shooters. But then people were like, yo, this Velly guy? I was like, all right, let's see. People were like, yo, you gotta watch the Valorant broadcast. I was like, why do I have to watch a Valorant broadcast? And they're like, because Velly showed up looking like Vishon. And I was like, what you mean he showed? He's like, no. My friend was like, nah, you just gotta tune in. You just gotta see the shit.
Man, tell me that's not fun to watch, though.
That's the thing.
Was so fun.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Like, I wasn't watching LCS anymore.
Yeah.
When people were like, yo, y'all need to see how Primal showed up this week to LCS. I was like,
I saw his first broadcast. I knew nothing about him, but I watched it because I wanted to get into League of Legends too. And I fucking loved it.
Somebody was like, yo, he's got face paint.
Yes.
I was like, what you mean face paint? And they're like, again, they were like, nah, this is a thing you experience. You need to just tune in and see this motherfucker's drip. And I tune in, motherfucker has animal print shirt on, fucking claw, face paint, and I'm like,
I went full Primal. Yeah.
It looked so
I was like,
good
you know
though.
what?
It looked good, and it translated well, which is the genius of it.
No, it
Thank
was
you,
just
thank you.
I saw that and I was
Genius.
like, yo,
Wow, Velly. I'm gonna just watch out every day.
No, but like real talk, like I don't watch the LCS broadcast as much anymore. Like I'll watch VODs of C9 games because I've been a C9 fan for a minute. That's how I know how good every other team is, by like how they played versus C9.
Well,
right?
C9
So I'm a very
right now.
right. It works now. There have been some years it didn't work out as well, but like that type of stuff, like the energy you bring, I like Emily's awkwardness and the way energy she brings. Like that brought me back to watching it, because when you watch VODs,
Oh, I'm
you don't
glad
get to
to hear
see.
that.
You don't
That's
get to
awesome.
see the analyst desk, right? You just hear the commentary, and it's the same thing for like Valorant, like seeing some
People don't
Hey.
watch analyst desks. Let's just put that out there to begin
No,
with.
like
So
that's
True,
the thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
stuff like
entertainment.
this, stuff that we're doing, like to bring value to it, is so undervalued, and it's criminal. It's
Yeah.
criminal.
Well, all
And
it's gonna take is just some. Oh, sorry. What were you saying, Primal?
Oh no, finish your point.
I was saying that it's going to take like something like ESPN or some ridiculous production company coming into the scene and being like, oh wait, actually this stuff works, and like we're gonna get more people like this. But I feel like just because once again there's a certain like a pool that they're picking from. I think someone used earlier that all seem to have a certain thing. I feel like we're getting the same
I have to say this.
coleslaw levels.
Yes, Sharpie.
I've
Like,
never heard-
When I said I got fired earlier, like, you know what I got fired for? A team choked hard on tiebreaker game. I'm at E-League. I'm in the same building as Shaq and Charles fucking Barkley, right? I'm there with NBA on TNT. I'm out of my fucking mind if I don't have showmanship right now, right? So this team literally choked 3 times in less than 20 seconds to clear up a round to go to the championship game. So they come to the desk and I hit a production. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna use a prop. I'm like, you guys okay with that? They're like, Velly, do whatever you want, baby. The road is yours. I'm like, all right. So I whip up the trash can and they call me and I'm like, you know, I brought a special guest to the desk. This is Reciprocity from round 13. And the whole audience laughed and started clapping because the choke was hardcore, right? Everyone was excited. I got scolded for it and I'm no longer with Gears of War anymore. But you know what? At the very first event for Rainbow Six that I did, the first major, they wanted me to do it to where they made me a trash can.
Wait, you have your own special trash can?
My own special trash can where I press a button and it says hot trash and it shows flames inside of the trash can. Like, it's legitimate.
That's amazing.
So it's weird how I get fired from an esport for doing that, and then I'm welcomed with open arms in other esports that love that type of creativity and that type of talk that I bring to the table.
Yeah. That's why Steven Smith still has a
Sorry,
job.
I do
But
have
yeah,
a
Primal.
note here. Yeah, I think it's important, you know, just in the interest of celebrating when we do see companies like take a risk and like go out, let people go out there and do something a little bit wild. Like me doing the war paint, like Riot was all about it. You know,
Anywhere else, they
I
would have
was
been like, what the fuck are you doing?
No, but they were like, they knew I'd been doing this for a year, my own personal streams with TFT. I did when I commentated. So they knew what they were getting themselves into and they super supported it. And when I was like, should I continue? They were like, whichever way you want to go with this, we're going to get behind you. With the whole B-shot thing, this fire in the trash can, like that should be celebrated, right? Because it would be so easy to just put someone on camera and be like, okay, well, you're going to be our X representative, whatever, you know, ethnic group or sense of identity, but you have to play by our rules, right? So I think we should acknowledge that, right? Because this is the kind of, the people are weird, people are different, right?
Yep.
People are colorful, right? And when you put people on broadcast, you should allow them to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think it's important. It is important to acknowledge that and like celebrate it and encourage it and see more of that.
I super agree.
Definitely.
Part of the problem is we are talking about esports, right?
Yeah.
That's like super big. For me, the only scene I have context on is StarCraft, but that was a long time ago, or StarCraft 2, and League of Legends, right? So I can only speak from what my experiences are in those scenes more directly. It may be, like, I think to a lot of Sharpie's points, like about, you know, the criteria that people are using, it's like feels inconsistent, you know, when you're applying for things. It may be the case that there are areas, either in the hiring process or just in terms of like, recruiting, where there needs to be way more of a robust approach to surfacing talent from all different backgrounds. But I do want to be careful that we're not saying, hey, it's like everywhere in esports is like a huge deal. Because
No.
I mean, even if talking about League of Legends, like before I was on broadcast, Raz, who is also black, he was on LPL English, right?
I love Raz, man.
Right? And Raz is dope, right? He's on LCS now, which is great. So even within scenes, like different broadcasts are,
Yeah, that
like,
is true. Like
It's very true.
but I also want to give Sharpie a shot because like y'all got to talk about your dream, y'all's dream commentaries.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yo, Sharpie, you can commentate any.
Make it good.
Age of Empires
Are you
2.
gonna cheat like these two and just say the esport you already do?
Oh, the esport
I mean, I'm not in
do, but
Valorant,
Riot.
technically.
Yeah, let me just do that real quick. I'm FGC. I would want to what's the Riot equivalent? Project L. Yes, Rioters, you can contact me, Sharpie at sharpiepls.com. Yes,
Yo, Sharpie,
hire
you're
me.
not already in LA? You're not already in LA for the Project L playtest?
No, I'm too funny to be in LA, sweetheart. They don't allow people this charismatic in LA. Like, what? That's funny though. That's funny. I'm too organic.
But what's like in all seriousness? What would be like that game?
Age of Empires 2. No, I wasn't joking. I
Really?
wasn't joking. I really love that game.
Nice.
It would be Diablo 3 or Age of Empires 2. Yeah,
I love that.
Is there like a broadcast scene for that?
there is.
Or are you?
I'm not good enough at the
No
game
way.
to like spend time, and there's literally no money or merit in doing it. If I were to put the time that I wanted to that scene into playing that game, I grew up playing that game with my younger brothers, and we still play today, like every day during my lunch.
Oh no, I'm not clowning you.
No,
That's just
so
never
that's
been
why
my
that game like matters a lot to me. That's why that game, if I could commentate it, I would do it because my brothers would respect me and my family would respect me a lot if I did it. They would respect
cool.
me a lot.
That'd be
More
fire.
than like doing Evo or like LCS or any of that stuff. I would be more respected if I did commentary for that game in my family.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could throw out a game that is dead, but
Is it StarCraft 2?
No. StarCraft 2 still has a scene. It's like I'm not. That hurt me. Anyway, probably most people have probably not even heard of the game, but Lord of the Rings Battlefront 1.
Yes. Yes.
You played that game? Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
That's a good one.
So sad. That game had so much potential.
It did.
It really
did.
did.
It was so fucking bad. Like
It was-
I remember, it would take like 2 hours sometimes to get into a game. But that
It was
40
worth
minutes of
it.
gameplay, man,
Worth
it was
it.
worth
I
it.
will say that if we're just talking about like any game,
I thought that's what we were doing. Is that not what we're doing? You said any
No, no,
game we
no.
can commentate.
Yeah,
I was like
we-
Age of Empires 2.
Wait. So it
Yeah,
wasn't like
I
an
would-
esport game?
Is it an esports
well, because
game?
I was gonna say an esports game.
Oh, then yeah, Project L, Riot. I just really love what they're aspiring to do with the scene and the game and everything. And I'm sure they'll be very fair to all the influencers and content creators that work for them. So definitely Project L.
Actually, one of the big reasons why I want to get into fighting games, one of my biggest goals, I want to commentate with Tasty Steve and Yipes one day. I fucking
Oh, you don't
love
want to
them.
commentate with me and Dragon Ball Fighters or
Well,
nothing?
you
brother?
too. Let's go.
We didn't meet because he was talking to me about commentating Dragon
I
Ball
know.
Fighters.
I
That
know,
wasn't
okay.
what happened?
Yo,
Okay.
it's still gonna
All I know
happen.
is I'm okay to not get roasted by. It's not my turn to get roasted by Sharpie. So like Velly, sacrificial lamb.
I know. I
serving you
take
up
it.
right now.
I deserve that
I'll
one.
be like, yeah, I want to do Yikes. I
for
want to
real, for
taste
reals?
these Steve. Like, okay,
And you too,
I'm
Sharpie.
right here.
Sharpie, you already
Okay.
know it's
No,
coming though.
you missed
Project L.
your chance.
Project L.
You missed.
Got you.
No, you missed your chance. You know what I kind of want to commentate?
What's
For
up?
Honor.
Oh man, yeah. Axe Mommy's
I
pretty
played
nice.
That's a good
I
game.
played the crap out of the beta, and it was unfortunate that their servers were kind of booty because it made me not want to buy the game. But like that beta was fun as heck. When I saw people playing it at Evo, when they were like showcasing it, because it was like the same year they were showcasing the Gundam game and the early beta of Dragon Ball. I was like, yo, when you see fighting game people play that game just for kicks, that shit looked dope.
That game is style
But-
points all the way. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. But if I had to pick, like, probably Tekken. Probably Tekken. But that's because, man, Tekken is that game that, like, snuck up on me as, like, a game that I love. Like, I've always been a Street Fighter fan. I've always been a Soul Calibur fan. But you know, when you go to Evo, you can see everything, right? Like you stand in one place, you kind of crew your neck this way, you see some Smash, you crew your neck this way, you see some Tekken, and every time I would look over at Tekken, I'd be like, damn, that looks like a lot of damage. That motherfucker just got hit into the wall 37 times and now he's dead. How is that fair? That's like crowd control in League. Like someone hit you with a Morgana Q and you just done. You didn't buy merch treads, it's over. So I was like, damn, what's this Tekken thing? And I would like inch over every time. I'd be like, all right, my interview's done. All right, bye Street Fighter player. All right, what's going on in Tekken?
You know, for an esports podcast, we sure are talking about League of Legends a lot. Isn't that interesting? There are a lot of League of Legends and Riot-based like information here. I just think it's interesting. Like yet again, when people say esports, there's a very select few type of games they think about. As a fighting game player, as a black fighting game player, or like it's kind of interesting because that's always where the conversation goes, right? It goes to like tier 1 esports, which is really just like kind of one organization. So it's like, while I'm only saying it because yet again, like, you know, I don't want to like be seen as like, oh man, she's saying all these games and all these games. But it's like, we're really only talking about like, we're talking about all these games, but it's unfortunate because everyone only has like one type of production manager or producer in mind when they think esports. You know what I mean? I
think for me, when I like reference, I think for me, it's because personally for myself, not like as a content creator or anything, I grew up playing fighting games with friends, right? Like, whether it was in the dorm room, whether it was people coming over my house, or, you know, going to like Fuddruckers, because we didn't have real arcades on Long Island. You would like go to like an eatery and they would have a couple machines. And so like there's a part of my brain that views fighting games the same way I view like Final Fantasy, right? Like it's a video game you play, or like Burnout, right? Like it's a game you play with people. And my introduction to esports as like an industry, like a competitive thing, was watching season 3 League of Legends.
Well, my question is more of, do people not consider FIFA or NFL games to like be esports too? That's more of my question. Because like,
they all are.
What's interesting to me is that like those games
they're all esports.
FIFA,
for me to be 100%
is like one of the
real,
highest selling video games of like all time, and it's predominantly bought by people of African descent. So it's like very interesting to me. Once again, the conversation that black people don't play games, it's like maybe they're just not playing the game that you're thinking of literally right now in your bubble.
I mean, spoiler alert, that's like a plan for a future episode, because I think the 2K broadcast is lit.
Got you. So we're just.
I love the new host. What's her name? I love her, yo. She's incredible.
Yo, she's fire.
She's incredible. I hope she shoots to the top one day.
I don't know if any of you guys have watched Community's HBCU broadcast for 2K. Those two women that do it, like, they're hilarious. And they like brought up that, like, because someone was like, yo, when are y'all gonna have a podcast? They're like, oh, this is the energy we just bring to each other. Like, we're friends.
2K League was boring the year prior to, kind of.
But like that like I think that's, and like I wasn't sure how we could get, I mean, you brought it up for us, so I guess it's a thing that we can talk about. Like, I view anything, like when people ask me what's an esport, I say any game that is played at a competitive level is an esport. Like, I make jokes about Melee being a party game, but that's just because I clown on friends. Like, Melee, esport. 2K, esport. Madden, esport.
Mario Party
FIFA?
5, esport. Mario Party 6, esport. Mario Party 7, not good enough to be an esport because Yoshi's hitboxes is cheap. You feel me? Yeah. Let's talk about it.
But like speedrunning, I think speedrunning's an esport. I think if you're gonna say track is an esport, or you're gonna say, I mean, if you're gonna say track is a sport, right? Then like, how is speedrunning not a sport? Now, I do think that there's like a difference between like the average speedrunner who just like wants to be good at it, or like, you know, figure out all the glitches. That's cool. That's lit. You're still cool. If you don't want to consider yourself,
like, you know, whenever I said like everybody, I wasn't just talking about like League. I was like, there's so many other games that this applies to.
No, but I think it's part of the conversation, because if you look at some of those, not like, some people say that Madden's not an esport, or 2K's not an esport, or FIFA's not an esport, or speedrunning's not an esport. It's kind of funny that all of these not premier esports tend to have a certain type of people in community,
just
right?
as competitive,
just as competitive. Like, sure, you might not, like, I think that there's like a huge, I think one of the things is that you have two types of people, right, when it comes to esports. People that are like CSGO, Dota, StarCraft, League, I guess Valorant now, Overwatch, like those are esports. Fighting games, they're kind of there. They like gravitate around.
But with
the
all
solar
respect
system.
given, fighting games aren't given the esports respect that they should be given. But yeah.
Yeah, but then when you try to tell somebody, yo, Madden's an esport, they kind of get defensive, right? Because they're like, no, we're not the Madden gamers. I think it's that same sort of headspace that I was talking about like where fighting games and League of Legends kind of like separated my brain of game you play versus game you're competitive at. People who like got bullied or felt away about like the certain type of games they play, CS, Dota, StarCraft, right? The people who played Madden, the people who played FIFA, the people who played, NBA 2K, those are the people that kind of clowned on them a lot, right? So now that people are trying to bring sports games into that esports conversations, they're like, nah, those people can't be here. Nah, those people ain't esports.
Why are we worried? They're bad at the game anyway. Why
just
are
think
we
that
concerned?
At the end of the
money.
day, it just all comes down to gatekeeping and esports being relatively young in North America. I mean, in all seriousness, I think that type of conversation, anyone that wants to argue against it is just, they're adolescent minded.
But I think Sharpie brought up a good point of like, there's more to esports than just like the tier 1 games.
There are.
A lot of people don't consider Rainbow Six to be a tier 1 game.
It's not tier 1, it's tier 2. But it's still big as shit.
But I bet the commentator check feel the same regardless, honey.
Yeah, I know.
I just say, like, do the tiers really matter? I mean, the check is still a check.
Yeah.
I still cash it at the same bank as always.
My biggest, whenever people talk about, the FGC maybe not being like a big esport, my biggest check from esports was the fighting game community. Thank you, Red Bull. Oh, the post is not there anymore. Thank you, Mr. Red Bull. So like, it is what it is. I think I think anything that can be played at a competitive level where like skill expression and like mastery comes into play, that's legit in esport. So like Age of Empires, didn't know that you could be competitive at that shit.
I think what it all comes down to is just the outreach that the companies have that own these titles and run the tournaments, right? Because if the esports should be bigger or it's not, and we question things about it, what is the outreach like? What is the content outreach like? What are you doing for your community to make people feel welcome? I think those are the biggest topics right there.
Yeah, Nintendo, what are you doing?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I should put a cease and desist label like on the like post-production. Can we get a cease and desist like over Sharpie right now?
Can't put any of this
right, like just like a transparency over Sharpie's frame.
I'm legit. I knew I was never gonna have like any Nintendo drops, but now I just like solidified it. They're never hiring me, bro. They're never hiring me. Oh my god.
All right, but we've been at this for a bit. We've been at this for a little bit of a minute. So I do want to get to an idea, which is because I like to do this sort of like compliment sandwich type thing. Feel good conversations to
loosen
go with
up
all
and
that. Yeah. So like, what makes esports the industry you like want to work in, right? And not from a like, oh man, all this shit sucks. So like but like, man, esports is still for me. But like, there's easier industries to work in by far, right? Esports ain't that easy. So like, what is it about it that makes it like so magical and special to y'all?
Cause it's me. This is shit I grew up with. Like, just like all of you that's in this call right now, I grew up playing games rather than doing a lot of other things I should have been doing in life, like homework and shit like that. And when I was younger, like I love that I was the best that I knew in video games, and I wanted to be the best. And esports has always been a part of me because of that, because I found a field that I can go as far as I want to, only if I work that hard, and there's no one that's going to stop me from getting there but myself. So that's why I'm in esports. I'm also in esports because I want to help it grow. I want to change it. Like, now that I'm older and I'm not playing anymore, I look at esports the way it's spoken about, the way it's perceived on camera, right? And it's like, I know things can be better here. These deaths aren't that fun. This type of commentary and analysis is cool. It's very informative, but there's more that can be done. And so that's why I'm here. It's literally a mission to make this as fun as possible, to where I can say at the end of the day, I helped out something that I love most, be incredibly fucking exciting.
What about you, Primal? What makes esports industry you want to work in?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I have this one life. I want to spend it doing things that I think are interesting and I'm passionate about, right? And video games have been there for me my whole life. Like my earliest memories are playing games. I spent tens of thousands of hours like just playing games and watching games contribute to making that experience for people who are like me is a joy in itself. I think similarly to Velly, like I think I can have a lot of positive impact. For me, a big focus right now is trying to figure out like how do I change a lot of the negativity in the esports culture, because I think it's a huge epidemic, right? And I think it turns a lot of people away, right? Like I didn't realize until I started doing public work just how toxic it can be out there. Like, you know, obviously as a player, it's like, it's one thing where you like have someone fucking inting in your team because they didn't get jungle, or you know, you have someone who just is having a bad day, so they talk shit to you. But it's another thing entirely when you can see at the narrative level a lot of the way that people talk about teams that they're allegedly fans of, or they talk about their region, or they talk about the work that other people are doing. And I really want to change that, right? Because this shit is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Right? It's supposed to be fun, and we don't have to tear each other down and shit in each other constantly. So as I get older, you know, at first it was just like, get paid to do video game shit, of course, right? Now that I've been at this for a while, I'm a bit older, now I'm trying to think, okay, how do I align this with wanting to have a positive impact on the world? Both from just an entertainment perspective, because I agree. I think right now a lot of esports broadcasts are kind of dry. And if you look at traditional sports, it's not actually that much analytical stuff. It's just hype, right? It's just like creating and amplifying moments because it's about emotion, you know? So I think on that side, there's a lot of work to be done as well. But for me, if I look at like what's the next 10 years of my life gonna be like, I wanna help change the culture here. So I think it's really important.
What about you, Miss Sharpie?
I want to be able to finally show myself in an afro and not have it be weird on broadcast. That's like my only goal. I just want to like take off my wig cap and just show everyone my natural hair on TV, and like then I'm good. That's my entire thing. That's all.
Do you feel like you can't do that right now?
I feel like on a lot of broadcasts, specifically, Black women are kind of stigmatized for the way that they appear. And especially in broadcast and entertainment. And I feel like because gaming is something that I understand so well and something that I really enjoy doing at every level, not just in fighting games and not just in FPS and not just in MMOs, but literally at every level, it's very important that I make sure that certain communities understand that Black women are just this way, like especially, you know, and there are certain things that make us different from other races of women or something like that, and just being able to be ourselves regardless of what we look like. I kind of want to like destigmatize that, especially for Black women, but for femmes and women everywhere, I think it's very important. So like ultimately it comes down to I want to just be able to normalize being yourself in a community, as long as you're like a good person, you know, you're not hurting someone. Like me wearing a wig or me having like Bantu knots isn't going to affect the way someone's day is, you know? It's a me choice for my hair.
But it's going to bring a lot of conversation, I feel like, too, which is so bad. But that's the thing, exactly.
And so like there's so many parts to go into it, especially as a Black woman, because my hair is so politicized, because my appearance is so politicized. There are a lot of things that I have to be really knowledgeable about in general. And I know it's like, once again, not just in esports, but because I'm in front of the camera a lot, because like you, Primal, I was behind the camera a lot, so I never had to worry about this stuff. There are a lot of videos and pictures you can find about me literally before like 2017, because I wasn't on camera, because I was just able to be an enjoying gamer. And it wasn't until I got in front of the camera that I started getting all these comments on like my appearance and how I look and whether or not I'm cisgendered, or whether or not I'm even like identify as female. Like there's so many conversations that happen specifically, I feel, to Black women and women in general and people who present as women that I feel like need to be removed from the gaming space. And I feel like if I have an opportunity to do that by, first of all, normalizing myself as a gamer and then normalizing myself as a Black woman in gaming, like I feel like that brings a lot to the table in and of itself and changes a lot for hopefully some future femme that just watches a show and is like, yo, Sharpie can do it, I can do it, let's do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
So that's
100%
why I
respect.
do it. That's why I say I would just like to be able to like just straight up wear my wig cap one day on stream and just have a whole moment where I'm just like, yeah, I woke up 3 minutes ago. What's up? You know?
That's something that people don't talk about at all, which is actually a thing.
I mean, that's similar to like why I like working in this space too, though. Like, I'm an obviously trans person, right? Like, I'm not cis passing in any way. I don't try to be cis passing. I like being trans. I love myself. I love my authentic self. And so, like, the thing that I noticed in the last few years, especially in the time that I've gotten to know Sharpie specifically, I know that she's probably seen it. I've gotten to see what that impact is of like me doing the interviews I do, or doing content like this, or working with organizations like Cloud9. I get DMs of people being like, yo, you did this Cloud9 thing, and like that makes me want to, like, I think I can do esports now. Or, yo, you did the Red Bull Conquest tour, and like, I just want to let you know that like, I feel like I can do fighting game events. Like, I can go to them and be myself. And like, I didn't get that doing any other type of work I was doing, right? You know, sure, it was cool talking on college campuses or like going to career fairs and like doing that type of stuff, but nobody ever really came up to me and was like, yo, you being at this career fair, yeah, you know what, I think I can be trans at SUNY Albany. I didn't get that type of like response from somebody, but like I could be having the shittiest day, and like somebody can pop into my DMs or make a comment on one of my videos or send me a tweet and be like, yo, thanks for doing this, or just, you know, thanks for being you in the scene. And like the whole day is better. Like, so that, I think that's what keeps me in esports, which is probably not like an esport answer. Like, I could probably have found another industry with that sort of response, but like getting that sort of response and like knowing that like it literally makes people feel welcomed, it makes people want to get involved. I think that's what makes like esports the place I want to be, because I think you can see direct. I think because there's not as much of a barrier between like personality and fan as there are in other industries, you can see that representation matters impact a lot clearer, right? If you're doing something like TV, right, you might see some of the stuff on Twitter or whatever, but you don't always get that direct interaction nearly as much. And I think that that's like what's hooked me on esports, is that feel of like getting to see what doing a show like this does for people and makes people feel comfortable. So like,
yeah,
that's why I'm here.
That's awesome.
So it's been fun, y'all. Hey, Primal, where can people find you on the internet?
Just search That's Primal. I'm primarily on Twitter, and I'm also on the LCS broadcast. So if you are into League of Legends and you're into North America, watch us Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll do that.
All right, Sharpie, where can people find you on the internet?
I am at the Purple Sharpie on literally all platforms. Most specifically, I am now on TikTok. So tiktok.com/@thepurplesharpie, but I have a Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. And I even have a Snapchat. That OnlyFans account is not mine. Don't add no one. The Purple Sharpie is not on OnlyFans. Like, I shouldn't have to say this. My lawyers are going to be in contact with whoever it is.
That's where you got that expensive mic from. It all makes sense now.
Okay.
Yo.
What I got to do on the gram is what I got to do on the gram. But
The
I
hair
didn't
been
get this from
looking
OnlyFans.
nice,
Okay?
and you know, like, I'm playing.
I'll know I made it when someone's made me a fake. I'm looking.
She go
Velly,
pop up with Versace, Gucci, everything. Where that money come from, Sharpie? Don't trip, chocolate chip.
I don't even know.
So,
I
Amanda,
don't
what
even
were you saying?
know.
I'm sorry.
Where can people find Velly on the internet?
Sharpie, I love you so much. I'm sorry.
I love you too, brother.
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter. My pronunciation on this sucks, but it's Velly Cass, and it's CASTS. I just want to make sure I put that out there so people would know. But yeah, send me a follow, should be a message. I'm always answering any type of DMs or tweets. So if you guys have any questions about anything in life, commentary, being in this scene, I'm wide open. I'm an open book.
All right, thank
Brother,
you
I have
all
a question.
so much
I have a
for
question
being
though.
on.
Real quick, I have
What?
a question. Where are the waves? What's
The
going on
waves?
with that?
Oh, they right here. I need
Wait,
a
check,
haircut,
wait,
but
check,
don't
wait,
get
check.
twisted.
There
They
we
still
go.
here, okay?
There
All
we go. Okay.
It's the lighting in here, right?
Yeah, you need better lighting for those waves.
You know what I'm saying?
He said
And
any
with- and with-
question,
and
and I
with
had
that-
a question that was on my spirit. Real talk.
And no, before this
and-
closes though, I do want to say one thing. This recording was actually really special to me because, like, Amanda and Sharp, you guys know I've shot up like really fast, like lately, right? So it's like being involved with other great people in esports is fucking dope. And all of you, we're all in different genres doing our fucking thing. That doesn't get the praise that it deserves, but I just want to say for all of you, like, I'm really proud of all of you, seriously. Like, especially you, Primal. Like, I seriously still don't know too much about you, but when I saw you on the LCS desk, I was fucking rooting for you. And what's his name, Barreto? Yeah,
Raz?
Yeah,
Raz, yeah. So continue up with the great work, and yeah, I'm very proud of all of you.
All right, thanks, King.
No problem, man.
Thanks. You know what? I don't need to do an outro. Velly did it for me. And
It's a desk
done.
host thing.
So y'all.